To make this video a lot easier to navigate, we're going to do this video in 7 steps. Step 1, introduction and quick review. Ultra quiet, battery backup, belt drive garage door opener. It's easy to install, works when the power does go out, limited lifetime warranty, 1.25 horsepower motor, comes with 2 remotes. It comes with the garage door opener for the wall mount control. It also comes with a keypad that you can put outside your garage door so that you can have access to the garage door without having to have the remote or a key to get into your garage. You can simply enter the keypad number that is included with the garage door opener. Comes with a battery backup. The battery is included. Limited lifetime motor warranty, limited lifetime belt, 5-year on parts and 1 year on accessories. Access control, safe and dependable access every time. Rolling codes and patented frequency switching technology secure the best lines of communication between Genie products. These features maximize range, reduce interference, and improve overall safety and performance of products. Home link and car to you compatible. Open and close your garage door with these vehicle-based integrated wireless control systems. Installation, easy to install, included assembly poster, color-coded bags, and 5-piece rail system makes installation easy. Remotes that are included with this opener are pre-programmed to work right out of the box. Just assemble and install. Extension kits works with doors up to 7 foot tall. For doors between 7'1" and 8 foot tall, look at an 8-foot extender kit, model number EKTB, and it is sold separately. Integrated battery backup system. When the power goes out, Genie Power goes on. For extra safety and added convenience, this garage door opener includes an integrated battery backup. Genie Sense monitoring and diagnostic technology. The opener continuously monitors the operation of the door, allowing the opener to react when significant changes occur. This minimizes noise and wear on the door and improves overall safety. Soft start and stop control. This feature allows your door to begin and end its movement smoothly instead of abruptly whenever you operate it, creating less noise and less wear on the door. Precision machine motor and gearbox. The gearbox is precision machined, greased, and factory sealed from the environment for maintenance-free operation. 2 bulb lighting system. 60-watt bulb lighting system takes most standard incandescent, fluorescent, and LED light bulbs. Light bulbs are sold separately. Step 2, garage door inspection. So the first step before installing a new garage door opener is to make sure that you don't have any issues with your door going up and down. So these rollers here on the side, you want to make sure that they are all good and all rolling freely, and that your door can go up and down on this track smoothly. Because if there's a problem with the door going up and down on the track, then the new garage door opener will not resolve any of the issues that you may be trying to resolve with your old garage door opener. You'll also want to make sure that the spring mechanism that is behind the door, and I'll show you that in a second. But let's test the door and make sure that the door is operating correctly. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is release the garage door itself from the garage door opener mechanism. So this hook right here is attached to the garage door. You can see that hook. We'll point to it in the video. And that red cable right here, that is the release for the garage door opener mechanism from the door. So that is the garage door opener right there. Garage door opener. So let's take that off and make sure that we can operate the garage door manually and that the garage door opens and closes smoothly manually. Alright, so as you can tell, that has released from the garage door opener mechanism, and my garage door did spring open pretty freely and pretty smoothly, so I don't suspect that we have an issue with the garage door or the garage door rollers. Now, it's always a good idea to make sure that your garage door opens and closes as smooth as possible, because if that garage door is binding periodically, then your new garage door opener is most certainly going to have some issues with opening and closing that door. So installing a new garage door opener will not fix the issue if your door is not opening and closing smoothly. You want to make sure that those are in good shape before you attempt to install a new garage door opener, because if you install a new garage door opener with faulty springs, the garage door opener is going to be doing all of the heavy lifting and trying to lift that big heavy door up without the assistance from those springs. Those springs help bring that heavy garage door up. So you just want to make sure that those springs are in good shape so that they can assist the garage door opener with lifting the garage door up. Let's take a close-up look at those springs. Step 3, removing the old opener. But let me show you why we are replacing the garage door opener. See that? You hear that racket? Now it gets worse when we close it. Let's close the garage door and see what I'm saying? is bouncing and shaking, and it stops. Oh my goodness, it's shaking the house. Now you want to pull that red lever right there, that red cable, to release the garage door from the garage door opener slider mechanism. But make sure you're holding the garage door, because some garage doors are heavily sprung to the upward position, meaning that when you release the garage door from the garage door opener slider mechanism, it will pop up like you saw my door do just right there in the video. So you want to make sure you hold that door so that the door doesn't go flying up and cause any damage. Now after that's done, you want to make sure you close the door completely and lock the door in the closed position. So most garage doors will have a manual locking mechanism. This is the manual locking mechanism right here for my garage door. So if I wanted to manually lock my door, essentially I would just be pushing this rod right here down into that slot. So it would go into that slot right there, and we would do so by operating this little lever here. So you would pull that or push it like so, and it'll lock the garage door, so that if the garage door is off of its mechanism, that's the new mechanism right there. So if it's not attached to that mechanism like you saw us release just a minute ago in the video, then that will keep the garage door from springing to the upward position and being a problem when we're trying to remove the old garage door opener. So that's just something you need to look out for. It may be on the right side like it is on my garage door opener. This is the right side, or maybe on the left side. It just depends on what setup you have in your garage with your garage door opener. We're going to take this cotter pin out. I've already squeezed the edges together, but your cotter pin may be in the open position, so you just simply take that out since I've already done that. And then we're going to slide the pin out the back side. Be careful, don't let this bracket fall down and break your glass windows if it is in the way of hitting your glass windows. So the next step is going to be to detach that part from the actual garage. That's the rail mounting point. 1/2 inch. So now that we've removed our garage door opener rail from the wall, from the actual garage wall, we've removed those 3 bolts. Now we need to go ahead and detach the wires. Now those wires are the wires for our sensors. The sensors that tell the garage door opener if someone is standing underneath the garage door so that the garage door does not close, or if there's some type of obstruction underneath the garage door. Now your garage door opener may not even have those wires attached to the garage door opener rail, but if we do have those wires attached to the rail, we are going to need to remove those wires so that the garage door opener assembly can be removed without any issues. So the next step is to unplug the garage door opener assembly. You should see a plug right to the side of the garage door opener. Somewhere in that area where the garage door opener is, you should see a plug where you can simply unplug it just like you would unplug any other device. Now once you've unplugged your garage door opener, you can go ahead and disconnect the sensors. Now even if you don't have access to the plug for the garage door opener, those sensors are very low voltage. So if your last step is to unplug the garage door opener, you can still go ahead and disconnect those sensor wires, because there's no danger of you getting electrocuted from those sensor wires. So most garage door openers have a wall mounted switch, and that wall mounted switch operates off of 2 wires. Now if you already have a garage door opener installed in your garage, there's a very good chance that you have a wall mounted switch somewhere with 2 wires going to it. Now you want to keep those wires in place, make sure that those 2 wires are intact. There's 2 wires at the garage door opener assembly itself that you see pictured right there, and there should be 2 wires mounted to the garage door opener switch, which is mounted on the wall. Those 2 wires are linked together, so you want to keep those in place. Otherwise, you'll have to run new wires through the walls or outside of the walls if you don't want to run them through the walls. Your best bet would be just reuse the wiring that is there. The wires are typically one color would be white, maybe the other color will be black, or maybe both colors of the wires will be clear and one of the wires will have a stripe going down the side of the wire as an identifier. So the next step is to actually go ahead and remove the garage door opener assembly. Now the garage door opener assembly is secured to the ceiling using 2 brackets. Typically it's just 2 brackets. Sometimes there may be a 3rd bracket, but usually there's just 2 brackets as you can see pictured there. You're going to want to go ahead and loosen the nuts that are on the bolts. Take the nuts completely off, but leave the bolts in place so that the garage door opener assembly does not come crashing down. Now once you have the nuts removed, you can go ahead and slowly remove the garage door opener assembly by lifting it up a little bit, pulling the bolts out of place, and then taking the garage door opener assembly off of the bracket and discarding the garage door opener assembly because we don't need it anymore for the installation. Best to just have it out of the garage and out of your way so that you'll have a good clean space to work in. Step 4, installation prep. So here is the installation sheet, list of things that are included. So the first two steps require the contents of the orange bag, the sprocket support assembly, which is item E, the carriage assembly, which is item G, and the idler pulley, which is item H. First step, we're going to insert the idler pulley through the header rail assembly with the clevis pin. So you take that clevis pin right there, put the idler pulley in that header rail, just like that, and then you stick the clevis pin through the hole. And on the other side of that clevis pin, you're going to insert the cotter pin. That's the cotter pin right there. You want to insert that cotter pin through that hole in the end of the clevis pin, just like you see pictured. So next you're going to take the 5/16 by 18 2-inch long bolt and put it through that hole in the header rail, that bolt right there, 2-inch long bolt in the orange package. You're going to take that bolt, put it through the header rail, and on the other side you're going to put the matching nut. There should be a locking nut that also was included in the orange bag. You're going to take that nut and put it on the other end of that bolt. You will need a 1/2-inch wrench and a 1/2-inch socket, or 2 1/2-inch wrenches, or 2 13mm wrenches, or a 13mm wrench and a 13mm socket to tighten that nut and bolt combination. The size is actually a 1/2 inch, but 13mm will also get the job done. Just take caution with tightening that bolt. It does not require a whole lot of force. That nut and bolt combination is merely there as a stopper, so it does not require a whole lot of force. Do not over tighten that nut and bolt combination to the point where it deforms that header rail. So this step right here is absolutely critical. You want to make sure that you install that carriage assembly just the way you see it pictured there. If it is not installed correctly, you will have to take it apart and do it over. So make sure that you install that carriage assembly as you see pictured right there on the screen. If done incorrectly, you will have to disassemble that rail and reposition the carriage assembly. Now there are a total of 5 rail sections. There is only one rail section that is different, and that is the header rail, the one that you see right there on the screen. The other rail sections are identical and they just simply slip into each other. So now we're going to slide all of the rail pieces together to complete the rail assembly, as you see right now on the screen. Next, we're going to take the sprocket support assembly and insert it into the rail exactly how you see pictured. Now you want to make sure you have that in the correct orientation. When assembly is completed, the orientation of the sprocket assembly should be exactly the way you see pictured on the screen. So right now you're about to witness me install the belt drive system incorrectly. I'm installing it opposite of what it should be. Now you see those screws at the end of the belt that I'm pulling on right now? They should be on the opposite side of that rail system. So when you're putting your rail assembly together and you're putting your belt on the rail assembly, put the turnbuckle, that piece I'm holding right now, that's the turnbuckle, put it on the opposite side of what you see me doing right there right now on the screen. So this is what we're working with once everything is assembled. Once you have the rail assembly assembled and you have the belt installed onto the rail assembly. Now mind you, the belt is still installed incorrectly and we're going to correct that, so no worries there, but this will give you a good idea and show you exactly what you need to do to get this thing fully assembled. So just make sure that you do opposite of what I did when you're installing the belt. And we're going to go over that again on the next segment. So now that we've installed our belt correctly, we want to make sure that the ends, the belt ends, you see those belt ends, they have a bolt at the end of each end of the belt. There's a gold end and then there's a silver end. The gold end needs to be in the exact position that you see right there on the screen. If the gold end is not in that orientation, then you need to correct the belt and install it again and make sure that that gold end of the belt is exactly as pictured on the screen right now. Now you will need 2 wrenches to tighten that turnbuckle. 2 11mm wrenches or 2 7/16 wrenches. Now with the correct installation of the belt on the rail assembly, we do need to make sure that we have the belt tensioned correctly, and we can do that by measuring the amount of deflection at the center of the rail assembly based on what you see right there in the video on the screen. We are basically looking for about 1/4 inch of belt deflection. So you see that ruler right there? That should be about 1/4 inch from the belt to the bottom of the rail assembly. So if you happen to be boneheaded like I am and forget to install that bracket before installing the belt, then fear not, you can simply install the bracket around the belt like I'm doing right there in the video. You can see me squeezing it in. You can squeeze it in. It's a little bit of a challenge, but it is doable. You see I got it done right there and everything is working out great. So just make sure you do install that bracket as pictured in the video. Now with that rail assembly completely assembled correctly, I might add, it is time to mount the rail assembly to the motor assembly. First thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you have the other end of that rail assembly supported, so you can sit that rail assembly on a chair, a ladder, wherever you want to sit it. You just want to make sure that you have the opposite end of what we're looking at right now supported by something so that it's not sitting on the floor. So as you see me doing right there in the video, all you have to do is simply slide that motor assembly into the rail assembly. It will slide into the splines and it will go in as you saw me do just there in the video. And it slides in really easy. Now the next step is going to be to take some of these screws. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 screws that we need to insert into into the back of the motor assembly to keep the rail assembly attached securely to the motor assembly. And those are the 4 screws that we need right there. There are only 4 of those screws in the orange bag that look like that, so there's no mistaking those screws for any other screws. If you are going to use a power tool to drive those screws in like I'm doing, you want to make sure you have your power tool set to the lowest setting. We do not want to over tighten those screws. If we do over tighten those screws to the point where it strips out, then we will need to replace the garage door opener motor assembly, because there's really no other way to get those screws to tighten up again. So what you need to do is just run those screws down with the power tool, and then check the torque on those screws by hand. You want to make sure that you tighten those screws up by hand once you've driven them down, so that you don't over tighten them and strip the screws out. So the next step will be to install the belt retainer or belt guard that is located in that clear plastic bag that you see right there on the screen. There's a belt retainer and 2 screws which will secure the belt retainer to the back of the motor housing, right behind the belt, to make sure that the belt stays in place. And those screws need to be tightened with a socket that is a 1/4 inch in size. Those screws are tightening a piece of plastic up against another piece of plastic, so make sure you do not over tighten those screws. It does not have to be very tight at all. It is simply there to secure the guard in place. Now the next step is to make sure that we do have enough clearance between the garage door and the garage door opener rail assembly. So open the garage door completely open till it's fully open position, and then take a look at the top and measure at least 2 inches from the top of the garage door to where you want to have your garage door opener rail system mounted. So you see that gap right there? We need to have a gap of at least 1 3/4 inches or maybe at least 1.5 inches, but we do need to make sure that there is some clearance between the garage door and the garage door opener rail system. Now, however you go about achieving that distance between the garage door and the garage door opener rail system, that's entirely up to you, but just make sure that the garage door opener rail system is level. So you're going to want to stick a level on the garage door opener rail and make sure that it is level when you have achieved the distance between the garage door opener rail and the garage door itself. I should add that this step is not necessarily critical if you're simply replacing a broken garage door opener. Chances are that the new garage door opener will have the correct gap already if you use the already in place mounting points from the old garage door opener system. So the next step is to remove the old light sensors, or safety beam sensors as Genie likes to call it in the instruction manual. So we're going to remove the old ones and replace them with new sensors. Now those sensors' purpose is to make sure that nobody gets crushed by the garage door. So when a garage door is closing, it looks for the signal from that beam to make sure that nobody is standing underneath the garage door. If someone is standing underneath the garage door or in the way of that beam, the garage door will not close, and the person standing in front of the garage door or object will not get crushed by the garage door. So let's go ahead and remove the old sensors and replace them with the new safety beam sensors. Now the safety beam sensors should be mounted at about 5 to 6 inches above the floor. So anywhere between 5 and 6 inches above the floor, that's where you need to mount your new safety beam sensors. Ideally, you want to mount both sides at the same height. So if you choose 5 inches on the right side, then you want to mount the other sensor at 5 inches on the left side of the door. Now these safety beam sensors are secured to the wall with 2 screws, and the screws are inside the yellow bag along with the safety beam sensors. So we are working with the yellow bag right now, and all of the contents of the yellow bag, which should be the 2 sensors and 4 screws, I believe. And each sensor is secured to the wall with 2 screws. We're not going to go into great detail about securing these sensors to the walls, because if you can't screw in 2 screws to the wall through a piece of wood, then this project is more than likely over your head, and you should probably hire a professional to continue the installation of the garage door opener. Now one thing to take note of before you mount the sensor to the wall is the 2 screws on the back of the sensor. Now those 2 screws will need to be attaching 2 wires to those 2 screws. So if you don't have access to those screws once those sensors are mounted in place, then you may want to attach the wires to those screws before you mount your sensors to the wall. That's just something to think about. Some garages are pretty tight, as you can tell from the image on the screen. My garage is pretty tight, and it was a little bit of a challenge to get the wires onto the back of the sensors, but I was able to get it done. But some garages, you may not have any space behind the sensors, so you may want to consider attaching the 2 wires for the sensor before you attach the sensors to the wall. The image on the right shows the safety beam sensor and how you will be wiring it up. The image on the left shows the positioning of the safety beam sensor, how you're going to mount the safety beam sensor on both the left side and the right side of the garage door. So this image right here gives you a good idea of how you should route the wiring for the safety sensors. Now you can route the wiring however you'd like. You may need to get creative. It just depends on if your garage is finished or unfinished. If you're simply replacing the garage door opener, it's probably best to just use the wiring that's already in place, provided the wiring is still intact and in good condition. So the next step here is to install the wall mounted switch, or the wall console as Genie likes to call it. There's 2 wires, there's 2 screws in the back. That is the new switch right there. I'm gonna take that little sticker off, and that will reveal the 2 screws that we will mount our 2 wires to. If you're just simply replacing your garage door opener, you should already have a wall console somewhere in your garage or somewhere in your home. Simply remove that wall console and you will be exposing the 2 wires that are behind it. Now, typically the wires are going to have an indicator to indicate which wire is which. Our set of wires has a white stripe down the side, and one of them does not have a white stripe. So that is what we're going to use to identify which wire is which. Now that wire runs from the wall all the way over to the garage door opener right there. It's already installed behind the walls, so we don't have to rip any walls out and run any new wiring. Now, if you are installing this new from scratch and you don't have a wall console already, then you will have to run wiring somehow, some way. You can run it along the outside of the wall. It's low voltage, so you don't have to worry about getting shocked or anybody getting shocked or anything like that. Alternatively, you could simply mount one of the remotes to the wall and not have to worry about running any wires. The only downside would be is that you would have to keep up with the batteries, which tend to last a very long time. We're talking several months at a time before you'd have to think about changing the battery. So that's another option if you decided that you don't want to run any wiring and this is a new installation and you just don't have any wiring there. Instead of running the wires, you could simply mount one of the pre-programmed remotes that came with the garage door opener to your wall and use that to open and close your garage door. Now, the downside to that will be that you won't be able to control the light that's on the garage door opener by pressing the light switch. I don't think you can control the light independently by using that remote, but there is an app that you could use to control the light, I believe the Genie app. So that's something to think about. Anyhow, let's move forward with the installation. Step 5, installation. So now we're going to take the pretty much assembled garage door opener assembly. We are going to rest the power head. That is the heaviest point of the garage door opener assembly where the motor is housed. We're going to take that power head and rest it on something at the opposite end of the wall where your garage door is. So you're going to rest it on a ladder, a chair, a shelf. Doesn't matter what you choose to rest it on, but you do want to rest that power head on something. And then we're going to take the other end, the opposite end of that garage door opener assembly, and lift it up, which is the lightest end of the garage door opener assembly, in the end that you see me working with right now in the video. We're going to lift it up to that bracket, just that bracket right there as you see pictured, and we're going to slide that clevis pin through that bracket, and once you're done it should look exactly like that. Now I'm missing a bracket bolt. That bracket should have 3 bolts in it, so make sure you install all 3 bolts to that bracket. Now there may already be a bracket there from your old garage door opener. If there is a garage door opener bracket left there from your old garage door opener, make sure you remove that bracket and use the bracket that is included with the garage door opener kit. So this part right here is going to be a little bit tricky, and I say that because mounting the power head for the garage door opener in place and having it perfectly level is a little bit difficult to do with just one person. Now if you have a ladder, you can probably rest your power head on a ladder and then stack some books or something underneath it to keep it in place, or you can do what I'm doing right here in the video. Put your garage door opener straps, that's what Genie calls those metal angled iron pieces, they call them straps or mounting straps. So you can put your mounting straps and hang the mounting straps from the bracket that's already mounted to the ceiling, and then you could use the holes. There are multiple holes in the mounting straps, and you can use the holes as adjustment points to mount the power head and try and get it as close to level as possible, and then you can make your final adjustments at the end. But the key here is to have a magnetic level. You can get the magnetic level from Home Depot or Lowe's or any box store, any hardware store. Ace even sells magnetic levels, or you can get it from Amazon. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about mounting the power head because chances are your installation is going to be a lot different than mine. You're just going to have to use some creativity in mounting the power head. Just make sure that the power head is level. Put the level on the power head rail assembly. Make sure that the thing is perfectly level, and then use a little bit of creativity as far as getting the power head mounted and making sure that it's secure. So the key here is just make sure that it's level and make sure that it's secure. So at this point, you should have the garage door opener assembly fully installed, everything wired up. If you need help with wiring it up, you can go back to the 19-minute and 17-second mark to show you an illustration of the wiring and how the wiring is supposed to go. So let's move on to the next step. Step 6, post-installation setup. So starting with the garage door in the halfway open position, we're going to press that negative button on the garage door assembly. We're going to hold it until that blue light starts flashing. Once that blue light starts flashing, we are in the programming mode, which means we can program the down limit. So we're going to close that garage door by pressing that negative button until the garage door is fully closed. And then we're going to release that negative button. Once we have the garage door in the position where we'd like it to be, in the fully closed position, we're going to go ahead and press that program button just once and release it, and that has programmed our down limit. So the next step will be to program the up limit. Now to program the up limit, we're going to press the positive button, and we're going to hold that positive button until that light starts flashing, the blue LED light, the long LED light starts flashing. And once that starts flashing, we can go ahead and open the garage door using the same button, the positive button or the negative button if we need to go back down. We're going to hold that positive button until we got the garage door open to the position where we want it to be when it's fully open. We don't want to go any further than where we need it to be. So if that garage door clears the door frame, we want to stop right there as soon as that garage door clears the door frame. Once that garage door clears the door frame, we're going to stop because we don't want to extend that garage door opener too far and hit the bump stop or some type of a limit and cause some damage. Not that we can cause any damage, but we don't want to take that risk by opening the garage door too far. So once we've achieved the garage door height to the height where we want it to be, or open all the way to the point where we want it to be, we're going to hit that program button again. We're just going to tap it and all of the lights should go out. Now at this point, we're going to go over to the wall mounted switches that you should have installed earlier, and we're going to press that button, close the garage door. Now you're going to let the garage door close all the way. It may not close and stay there. It may close and then open back up. Now once that is complete, our garage door programming should be complete as well. So we're going to hit that switch again, and when we hit that wall mounted switch, the garage door should close completely this time and stop in the fully closed position where you set it earlier on in this process. Step 7, conclusion. Notice how much quieter the garage door opener is now. If you're handy with power tools at all, this job is something that you can totally accomplish all on your own. It's best to have a helper. That would definitely save you some time and some frustration, but this job is definitely doable as a one-person job. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it helped you get your Genie garage door opener installed and working correctly so that you can avoid the mistakes that I made. So the trick here is just simply follow the instructions and you won't have any issues when you're installing the Genie garage door opener.